Alright, this will be a healing guide video for Season 3. So to start off, I did make a video before this. So I'll basically be doing the same video as before, but I wanted to keep things up to date. So there's a few things that did change, but not a lot. But I'll still go over the build itself. So to start things off, we'll look at our life staff tree. So this is what I use for life staff. We're going to be running these three abilities: Orb of Protection, Sacred Ground, and Divine Embrace. Now, there's a few reasons these are good, which I did mention in my previous video, but I'll go over them again. First off, you get a lot of Fortify with this build, so Orb of Protection will give Fortify, along with Sacred Ground. So these two abilities will give Fortify to players, and this is really, really good. Obviously, Fortify will allow your teammates to survive for longer, so that's why it is pretty strong. Now, another good thing about this build is you're going to be able to cover a lot more range than you would with something like Beacon instead of Divine Embrace. This is a pretty standard build. It's running Orb Protection, Sacred, and Beacon. But the one thing that you sacrifice when you do replace Beacon with Divine Embrace is your ability to single target heal. And I'll go over why I believe Divine Embrace is a better choice, specifically for pugs. If you're running in a very coordinated group who is potentially doing, M3 pushes for leaderboards and stuff, then there's a real case to be made for running Beacon. But just standard runs, this will allow you to run M3s, even, in worst case scenarios. And you could even push M3s with this build as well. So the benefits of both, I will say that the reason I really like Divine Embrace is for the obvious choice, which is single target healing. This is going to help you a lot for, let's say if the tank is less than 50% health, you can just use this and the tank will be full health. Same goes to any DPS that needs health. You can use this and they'll be full health. And the reason this is really good is because if you pair it with Shared Struggle, then any player that you heal below 50% health, it will also heal another player within 8 meters, which is very likely. It's very likely another player will be within that range. They will also get healed for the same amount. So that's basically going to be a free 100% heal on any player if you heal them below 50% health. It's a very strong ability, but it requires you to be cognitive of your positioning and where your players are and how much health they have, obviously. Now, this applies to every healer build as well, but specifically for this, because Divine Embrace is very much a build that requires you to be on the top of your game, really understanding when someone needs to be healed. So it's not a beginner-friendly build, but I would say that if you're curious about running this, I would say just try it out, see if it works for your playstyle, and yeah, go from there. But it is a really good build. I'll show gameplay probably now. I'll probably just start showing gameplay here. So I'll just keep talking about the build though. So basically what you want to be doing though is making sure that you're using all of your abilities. And this may seem very obvious, but it's very critical to be maximizing the amount of heals that you're giving out to your teammates. And a lot of people might be tempted to like save a Sacred Ground or save a Divine Embrace just in case someone goes below health. But realistically, those cooldowns will refresh very quickly, especially if you have the build set up that I'll be going over in a second here. So it's critical to just be maximizing your amount of heals. And I'll go over Void Gauntlet as well because that is another critical point of this build. So let's go into that right now. So if we look here at our Void Gauntlet, we're going to be running Orb of Decay, Oblivion, and Void Blade. Now, Void Blade is the backbone of the Void Gauntlet build that we're running here. The reason for that is because it will lower cooldowns when you use Refreshing Move. So if you have the Life Taker, which I strongly recommend you get, if you plan on running healer, you should have this by now. If you don't, go get it. You can look on New World Database where to get this if you don't have it already. The reason this is so strong is not only Refreshing Move, perhaps even stronger is Negative Energy. This will allow your range attacks to inflict a Disintegrate. Now, if you don't know what Disintegrate means, it's basically a stackable rend. And the fact that it's stackable allows you to consistently just do light attacks with your life staff, and that will apply a rend every time you hit the enemy, which is extremely strong for elite enemies or bosses. It will just allow your whole team to do a ton of damage. I feel like this is just a baseline standard for all healers now. The Life Taker is extremely overpowered and very, very much required for any healer build you run. So that is the one thing that's good about it. And of course, you have Refreshing Move and Life Stealing. Both are very strong. For my last perk that I put on this, I put Ferocious Blade. This will allow me to use Void Blade and heal for 54% of the damage dealt while I'm below 50% health. So basically it allows me to be a little bit more aggressive during big pulls and you know, be able to sustain through those attacks. So that is a really important thing to note there. So I'll also show my life staff. This is the life staff here. We're going to be running Blessed, Refreshing Move, and Fortify Sacred Ground. You can get this life staff by killing named elite mobs in Mirkgard. So if you look up this specific life staff on New World Database, you'll see where to get this. One thing I'll recommend, just put a life staff in your secondary weapon, use a DPS build, and just start killing enemies. You'll get this life staff within 1 to 2 kills. So it's not too hard to get, at least in my experience. And I would say this is a requirement life staff, so you definitely want to try to get this life staff. It'll boost your healing by a ton. Obviously, Fortifying Sacred Ground is the best thing to have on your life staff because of the fact that when you switch weapons, the Fortify will apply regardless. This is different from if you have Fortifying Sacred Ground on your armor, because if it's on your armor, if you swap weapons, the Fortify actually goes away. So you really want to make sure that Fortifying Sacred Ground is on your weapon. And like I said, just farm this life staff. You'll get it. You'll need 3 chromatic seals to put Fortifying Sacred Ground on the life staff itself, and then you'll be good to go. Alright, so on to armor. So realistically, the armor isn't too important. There is probably 2 perks that are required, which is Mending Protection and Refreshing Divine Embrace. Everything else really doesn't matter. So you could theoretically just buy this armor or craft it. It's up to you. I crafted 3 of these pieces and I bought the helmet, but it doesn't really matter. You only need those 2 perks. The other perk that might be handy, especially for Tempest Heart and Genesis, is Nullifying Oblivion. And the reason for that is because it will prevent enemies from healing. Another good thing is if you are running a nature mutation where enemies tend to heal with the vampiric modifier. So this will also decrease that amount of heals they get. So this perk is good situationally, but the ones that you want to really prioritize is Refreshing Divine Embrace and Mending Protection. I'd also recommend Shirking Energy. This is just a decent standard one to have, and I'd also recommend 4 times Refreshing. So you can see we have Refreshing on 1, 2, 3, and then we have one on, where is it? Somewhere on our armor. But we have 4 times Refreshing. So that is really good because obviously it'll lower your cooldowns and allow you to use life staff abilities more often, which is very much needed. You're a healer, so you should be spamming life staff abilities. Now, adding on to that, you will be running out of mana pretty often, especially if you're playing this build correctly. So, you know, if we just go through this, you can see I'm going to be chewing through this mana, and it's pretty critical to be using right click with your Void Gauntlet. This will take a lot of practice. This is not something that you will just like understand when I'm saying this right now. This is something that really you should recognize what I'm saying here, because right clicking with your Void Gauntlet will give you mana in replace of health. Now, why is this good? Here's a quick combo that I'd recommend understanding. Orb of Protection on yourself, dodge, and then hold right click. You will be able to get full mana in maybe 1 second, most, maybe 2 seconds. But the key idea is that you'll be able to heal back up to full health, because Orb of Protection gives you a not a damage over time, but like a heal over time. So it'll gradually heal you over time in the course of like 10 seconds. So that's really strong, and allow you to just basically get away with holding right click with Void Gauntlet more often. Another key thing here with this build specifically, if you want to use get more mana, you can do this. Use Orb of Decay, pop it back, and get a heal back as well. I missed it there, so it didn't fully heal me. But if you time it correctly, you'll be able to actually heal yourself with Orb of Decay while simultaneously gaining mana. I know this is a lot to take in if you're a new healer, but rewind the video, understand what I'm saying here, and you'll be able to pick up the nuances to this. So I'm just going to go over that again. Orb of Decay, and then you'll be able to heal yourself there. And like I said before, you can also use Orb of Protection to heal yourself. And you want to be using right click with Void Gauntlet very often. I'll probably play some gameplay here of just kind of how that is done in practice. So you'll see some gameplay probably right now. But yeah, like I said, make sure that you're sustaining yourself on mana, because mana is very important, especially when you start getting into M3s, where you really need to make sure that you're full mana pretty much 100% of the time. Now, obviously, there is going to be some situations where you cannot use right click to get full mana, so you'll need to use a mana pot, which is completely normal. You should be using mana potions, and I would recommend, if you're 10 mana or less, just press your mana potion button to get full mana. It's almost always better to do this than trying to min-max your Void Gauntlet leeching to get mana, because that way you don't suffer a time loss, and you'll also be able to gain mana quickly without losing health. So that is probably a lot to take in, so we'll stop there. Alright, so now a few other things. First off, let's go over our jewelry. So it depends on the mutation, obviously. If you're running a nature mutation, you want to run nature protection. Void mutation, you want to run void protection, something like this. So that is pretty standard. Now, for your second perk, I would strongly recommend health. I think health applies to pretty much every build out there. So you want to be sure to run a protection perk and health. For your third perk, that's kind of up in the air. I run Shirking DOT Cleanse for this specific amulet just because I think it's pretty good to have. It doesn't really matter though. You could run something like Divine, or there's numerous other options out there, but the two perks you really want is health and that protection perk. Alright, so onto your ring. There's two perks you really want, and that is Hardy and Sacred. The third perk, again, doesn't really matter as much, but something like Healing Breeze would be the best perk. This will allow you to heal for 20% extra when you heal someone below 50% health. I can't remember exactly what it is, but that would be Biss. But yeah, the two perks you really want, like I said, Hardy and Sacred. Onto Earring. The two perks you really want here is Nimble. Actually, this is debatable. I think you should probably go for 3 perks here, and it would be Refreshing Toast, Nimble, and Purifying Toast. Now, the reason behind every single one of these is, first off, Refreshing Toast is good because as a healer, you're going to probably be chugging mana potions more than you think. And especially if you need some health, you'll need to use a health potion or a regen potion. So this Refreshing Toast comes in handy a lot more often than you might think. Secondly, Nimble. You're going to be dodging a decent amount of times, most likely. And that stamina regeneration is a very important thing to have. So I really strongly recommend Nimble. Thirdly, Purifying Toast. This only comes into play when you're running a mutation that will root you. So for example, with a nature mutation, there is a green circle that runs around when there's an elite enemy, and that can root you in place. And if you get rooted by that, you can just drink a regen potion and you'll be able to move again. So it removes all debuffs basically, or removes one debuff, but normally that's just going to be the one that rooted you. So that's why this is really good. And yeah, those 3 perks I would say are Abyss, and those are the ones to go for. So that covers jewelry. Onto Heart Rune. Heart Rune is, there's pretty much only 2 options, maybe 3. So Bile Bomb is the first option, especially for enemies that have Vampiric in certain mutations that will heal over time. Also for Ennead, the last boss, could be useful there. Another option would be Grasping Vines. More specifically, the ones that give you, or give the enemies Rend and Enfeebling. So it would be this one. The Brutal Heart Rune of Grasping Vines. This will root everything in place, apply Rend, and a Weaken. And it's also an AoE Rend Weaken, so it's very strong there. This is really good for if you potentially don't have a Gravwell and you wanted to clump everything, maybe Genesis, so you can prevent them from getting to the tree. But there's a lot of options for this. Now, there's 2 more options that you could also go for, which is Firestorm. This recently got buffed actually on its damage. And the other option would be Stoneform. Now, personally, I wouldn't recommend using Stoneform just because you're not really doing anything for your team by using this. This is kind of something that you would only use if you're playing a low con healer build, or you're like going for M3 leaderboards and you needed to really make sure you don't die as a healer. Then this can be viable. But in most cases, I would say just run Bile Bomb or the Grasping Vines. You could also run the Firestorm, like I said as well, but that would be more DPS centric. It's also a little bit more skilled because there's a certain situation or a certain ability along with that where it will remove debuffs. Cleansing Storm. So Firestorm cleanses all DOT effects from allies it passes through, which is good if you can set it up correctly. So this one is decent as an alternative. So yeah, I would say you have those 3 to 4 options. Alright, so that pretty much covers it for the healer build. Now, most of this build comes down to practice and understanding of your own capabilities, what to pull, what you shouldn't pull, what the tank can get away with, when you should heal the tank, when you should heal the DPS, and a lot of other factors. But that's not something I can just say in a video. That's something that you must practice over time. So I would recommend, if you need more understanding, Baggins TV. Obviously, I'm sure you've heard of him. If you're looking up healer guides on YouTube for New World, you've probably seen his videos before. Strongly recommend checking him out. He's got great healer videos. And yeah, that's about it. So if you've enjoyed this video, please leave a like, and I'll see you guys in the next one.